just note, Aideen will be going through the functionality of VSware here now in the next few minutes, but I just want to draw your attention to the school app. So if you go to the school website, just click on the Apple or the Android, whatever you're going with, but of course everyone should be using Android, but I think it's a 50-50 division there. It'll bring you over to some sort of page like this. Now, again, depending if you're on your own device, if you could just install that, what you'll need to do then is it'll bring you through a registration process. I'm not going to show it to you here, just going to bring light to it. What you can do is you can register the school name will be under that. You make your own details to log in. It's just one way of increasing the amount of communication between the school and yourselves. What we can do is we can push notifications to yourselves. We can also put news articles and that kind of stuff. So it's like a mild social space for parents to use. But it will become a bit more prominent over the next couple of months. We have a new ICT coordinator who will be using that an awful lot more over the next coming weeks. So just, if you have it in mind, if you could please install it when you remember, and you'll be getting more functionality over the next couple of weeks. But that's me. So I'm going to hand over to Aideen. I just need to actually switch back because now I can't unshare. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to hand over to Aideen. Thanking you.
Good evening. Thank you, Sean. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me all right. I'm assuming you can. If you could hear Sean, you should be able to hear me. So as Sean mentioned, we are going to be looking at VSware and we're going to be talking about the functionality that's available to you as parents. Bear with me now for one moment. I just need to open up the correct window. Now, there we go. So can everybody see my screen there with the Step Aside school webpage?
Yep.
Wonderful, thank you. So this is the page that we're all used to having a look at, and we have our usual tabs across the top that we're used to looking at. If you notice, the point that we're going to be looking at this evening is up here on the right-hand side to the top of the screen. I'm circling it there with the cursor just at the moment, VSware. So as Sean was mentioning, this is the software that we use in school as teachers to track all sorts of things for our students and for yourselves. We track attendance, we track report cards and all of those things. So when you log in, you just need to log in with your username. And of course, I have forgotten the passwords that we set up temporarily, excuse me. No. I think I need to put a capital name on my letter. Nope, there we go. I put in an extra letter by mistake. Sean, why is my profile not working suddenly? This profile was working earlier.
It's only a fake account, so it's Step Aside 2022 ! Capital S and start.
Exclamation mark. I had the wrong symbol. Apologies, everybody. That's my fault. I had actually written that down and I didn't look at the correct thing.
Actually, so I might just jump in there for a moment, because just to mention, if you do forget your login details, as wonderfully demonstrated there by Aideen, if you contact the school administrator, admin at stepaside.etss.ie, they will be able to reset your password for you. The only thing to be careful of there, it will come through on your phone. Okay, so if you need to reset your password, contact the school directly. They will issue a reset password. It'll come through on your phone. Thanking you.
Thank you, Sean. Yes, and let's be honest, these things happen. Hopefully it won't happen overly often, but it can happen from time to time. So once you log in, this is the landing page that you'll be seeing in front of you. You'll notice that there's a couple of spots. There's the contact details there for whatever number we have recorded for you. And my child is called test student, as you can see, but you will see the names of your children there. Now, if you have more than one child at the school, if you click there at the top of the screen, that tab that has the downward arrow, the menu arrow, you should see the names of your children if you have more than one child in the school. So a couple of things we're going to have a look at. We're going to click into my test student, my lovely child, my test student, and we're just going to have a look at the different options and different areas that are available for you to work with. We're going to work from the bottom and work our way up. So for anybody who has children in first year, this won't be immediately relevant to you. However, as the children move through the school, they will move into transition year and hopefully onto senior cycle, and will need to make choices around subjects. There's nothing in here at the moment because there's nothing on the system for this test child. But as these things become relevant, you'll be made aware of them, and this is where your students will go. Our students will go to find the options for choosing. In terms of the school fees, this isn't in heavy use right now. We still do direct payment with the school, as you will be aware, in terms of student contributions and such. As time moves on, this functionality will be used a little bit more, but for now, it's not in heavy use, so we'll move on from that. If we look up here, then we can see if you want to double check any information relating to the information we have on record for your child. Obviously, that's all held very securely and is very safe, but just to make you aware, that's where it is. So if, for example, we happened to have, I don't know, we put down their date of birth slightly incorrectly, or we had maybe misspelled their name accidentally, that's a way to check that we have everything correct. So now, moving on then to possibly the most important elements of it. This tab here, this menu here for timetable, you see it in the purple. This is an extremely useful tab to become familiar with for your children. I don't know about yourselves, but certainly when we're working with the students, they can frequently forget where they are supposed to be. But this is a way for you to check and see where they're supposed to be at any given point in the day, what class they're in and what room it's in, and most importantly, what teacher it's with. So if, for example, your son or daughter was maybe struggling with business, you can see here, let's just have a look at first thing Monday morning. You can see they have business at 8:30 with Thomas, ending at 9:28. So whether you're aware of it or not, we tend to refer to our class times as an hour long, but actually they're 58 minutes. So if it looks a little bit strange, as in 9:28 finishing time, 10:26 finishing time, that's just because our class times are actually 58 minutes. So we can see here that our student has business with Thomas. If we click on that, it pops up. The reason this becomes very useful is if for some reason you needed to contact the student or the student's teacher for any given subject, you can then pop back over to you can take a note on the timetable of the name of the teacher you're looking for. So maybe it's Thomas or maybe it's Rachel Butler for maths. And if you pop back to the Step Aside web page and have a look at the Our School tab at the top, the menu pops up and you can scroll down and click on Staff. And there's our very lovely principal Barbara and her address if you want to stop and have a little look. And also our other fearless leader, Colin Doyle, our very own Sean. And we'll scroll down to the bottom. And oops, a little too far. And you'll notice here, this staff list is updated every year. So we're a growing school, so the number of staff is growing also. But you'll notice, so for example, if you were looking for Rachel Butler in relation to maths, there's Rachel's email address. All of the year head addresses are up there too. So if your son or daughter's in sixth year, you'll be contacting Sean. If your son or daughter's in first year, you will be contacting Catherine McAuliffe. She's their first year head. And you can see here the different year heads as they move up through the school. So for example, like we were saying, if you wanted to contact Rachel Butler about maths, there's her email address. So by using the two parts of the functionality together, by having a look at the timetable, you can have a look and see who the teacher in question is, click on it, they pop up, Rachel Butler for maths, and if you need to contact them, you can. The other functionality, which is great to be aware of, if you notice up here on the top right hand side, we have an actions button. If we click that drop down menu, there's only one, which is fine, but it gives you the option to print the timetable. Now, this is extremely useful. For example, you might find it worthwhile sticking the timetable up on their notice board if they have one above their desk at home, maybe, or wherever they do their homework. Or you might find it useful to have it on the front of the fridge so that there's no ambiguity or doubt about what is happening on which day. I know certainly in terms of helping the students to develop their own organisation and keeping on track of themselves, it's worth being able to reprint that timetable for them, because let's be honest, sometimes things get stuffed into the bag and are never seen again. So it can be very useful to be able to click on that actions button and print that timetable for them. So that's how the timetable function is useful. We'll pop back then to the child profile, and we're going to have a look at the next section, which is behaviour. Now, this is a very useful section. The reason this is up here is because in Step Aside Educate Together, we do track behaviour. We track positive and negative, so it's not all bad news. And you'll notice here there is a score. So we start at the start of each term, every student is reset to 0, or set to 100, excuse me. Is there a question there?
No, I don't want the mic on. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Sorry, I thought there was a question. Pardon me. Okay, so at this, you'll see here that this student has a score of 130. So they've obviously behaved very well. They started the term at 100, like every student does, and that is reset 3 times a year at the start of each term: the autumn term, the spring term, and the summer term. And as the term goes on, they can be given thumbs ups and thumbs downs, depending on what's going on with that student. We'll just have a quick look then at some of the breakdowns. Now, this is very, very useful if you wanted to pop on and have a look and see what's going on with your student, with your child. I keep calling them your student, apologies, the test student. You'll see here, for example, living the step aside ETSS ethos. Sean gave this particular student a thumbs up, and that was worth 15 points. But if we scroll down, we can see their exceptional effort. That was worth 5 points. Classroom behaviour and attitude, worth 5 points, all generated by Sean. And you can see here there's also a space for a comment. So this particular student, excuse me, was given very specific feedback in relation to why they were given the thumbs up for exceptional effort. So excellent work on your essay for paper 1 in the mocks. And if we look further down, sometimes there is a comment, sometimes there isn't a comment. It depends on the teacher and on the circumstances. So it can be very useful. For example, if we look here, this student got a thumbs down for non-submission of classwork or homework. So classwork or homework incomplete, they got a thumbs down. You see the red thumb there. That means they lost 5 points. The date and time that it happened, the subject, who it was raised by, in this case, our Sean, and the comment below. Did not submit homework set on the 30th of January, organic chemistry. Now, the reason this becomes useful is in Step Aside, if there's a recurring challenge or a recurring misbehaviour or a recurring issue that's happening for a student, whether that's homework or lateness or absenteeism, or the lateness rather than the absenteeism, but also if there is a behavioural issue, they would be assigned a detention on a Friday evening, potentially. And if you wanted to click in, if you discovered that they have been given a detention, you've been notified of this, and you wanted to click in and find out why, you can then have a look at the record to see what circumstances have been happening over the course of a week, 2 weeks, a month, the term as a whole, depending on how many comments have been put up there and when they were put up there. So if you were notified that if they got 3 thumbs downs, that they would end up with a detention, and you can click in there and you can see exactly what happened and when it happened. So it's a way for us to record the good and the bad, so that we can keep track of behaviour for our students. And it is worth mentioning as well, you know, we have some incentives for them to do their best. You notice that 130 score at the top there, the progress score. So we also have a system in place in the school called Step Coin, where students can trade in their coins, their behaviour scores. Depending on what the scores might be, they can trade them in for special privileges. Now that is managed separately to the VSware, and it's managed by one of our teachers on staff, Connor Devlin, and he is the person to contact about that directly if you wanted to find out any more about that. So that's the behaviour view, very, very useful. And again, just referring you back to raised by whoever it was raised by, Sean McMahon, for example, or Sean, if you wanted then again to click back into the staff list on the website, if you wanted to contact the teacher who raised the issue directly to speak or discuss about that issue, then it's worth being aware that you can contact any of our teachers by email at any point in time in relation to anything you see that's related to your child. So we'll click back then to the child profile. So the next one we're going to have a look at is the assessment. So it's the second block here. We'll click in. Now, some of this is relevant to all of our students and some of it is only relevant at certain times. So the term assessments, we generate assessments 3 times a year for here. You will have received notification, for example, before Christmas of the reports that were generated for your children after the winter assessment. So this is where we will see those reports. We generate 3 reports each year. We have one after the winter assessment, which is a full report with scores and comments. We have one after our spring assessment, which is coming up next week, in fact. But that is a data point only, so there won't be any comments. There will just be the scores for the assessments once those are completed. And then we have our summer assessments, which happen obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but at the end of the academic year. And those again are a full report with scores and comments. So let's just click in here. So this student was set up as a 6th year student. And we can see here on the drop down menu at the top that the student name is at the top. And you'll notice here we have the 6th year winter exam for 2021, so the academic year 21-22. And if you click into that, now this student was just set up for the purposes of tonight's session, but all report cards for your child will show up there, and you'll be able to click in and view them at any stage. So you'll notice here, because of the nature of this report, this student, for example, doesn't take physical education as an exam subject. Their tutorial teacher is Rachel Butler. Now, the tutorial teacher will never put a comment on the report card, because the tutorial class is a pastoral role. It's their form tutor. That's who that is. So if we look then at chemistry, you'll notice the subject name is there, the grade they received, so H2, H5, whatever it might be, and the percentage beside it. Their teacher is Sean McMahon. The level they were assessed in is higher in this situation, and then the comment from the teacher. So a fantastic result. You should have a real aptitude for the subject. You have shown a real aptitude for the subject. Take care when using definitions. There will be 2 sets of marks per definition. You will need to focus on Hess cycle calculations from thermochemistry. From the thermochemistry section, you lost a significant portion of marks on the heat of combustion. So some very specific feedback there for this particular student, and that's where you'll see the feedback on the summative assessment, or the test, or the assessment that was completed. And you'll notice then we have some from the other teachers, and there's ethical education, French, and you'll notice again the name of the teacher is in there. So once again, if you wanted to contact them directly in relation to the feedback that was given or in relation to the scores that the student achieved, If you pop back onto the main website, the Our School tab, the staff button, and scrolling down to the bottom of that screen, you'll find the list of all of our staff members that should you wish to contact them directly. So scrolling down to the bottom, then we can see here all of the different assessments that this student completed in that particular assessment cycle. And that is really what there is to be seen there. The only other thing you can do is you can download the results. So again, similar to the timetable section, there's an actions button on the right hand side at the top of the screen with a drop down menu, and it just allows you to download the results as a Word document should you wish to have a paper copy. Now, if we go back then to the assessment menu, the assessment landing page, you'll notice here on the left hand side the state CBA. So junior cycle students in 2nd and 3rd year complete classroom-based assessments, or CBAs. It only applies to junior cycle students, and it only applies in 2nd and 3rd year at particular times of the year. So any time that they have completed a CBA and have gone through the full assessment and process and grading, that information will appear on that left-hand side. Now, this is a 6th year student, and they were just set up for the purposes of this evening, so they don't have any CBA information in there. But for anybody who has a 2nd or a 3rd year student, that's where you will find that. Now we'll go back again to the child profile, and then we're going to go to attendance. Now, we've saved the best for last. This is definitely one of the most important functionalities we have as part of VSware, particularly from the perspective of our parents who are using it. So if we click into learn more there, we're going to click in. This allows parents to have a look at the attendance record for their child in the school. As Sean was mentioning at the start of our session, as teachers, we record attendance at the beginning of every single class in the school. So there are 6 periods every day, and the attendance for each student is recorded at the start of each period. You will notice there are 3 categories here. There's present days, absent days, and partial absences. Now, generally speaking, partial absences relates to lateness. Absent days would relate to any time they're just not on campus, and present days, of course, when they are in school where they're supposed to be. So we have a notification up at the top here, 1 late. So there has been 1 reported late this year. So if a child arrives late, we record that on VSware, including the number of minutes they were late for that particular class period. That becomes quite important, of course, if a child is late in the first period of the day. It's particularly important because they're supposed to be on campus at approximately 8:20 to be on time for school at 8:30. We start our classes at 8:30. Then we have 1 unexplained absence recorded here. Now you'll notice, please explain the reason for the absence here. This becomes very, very important for parents to log in and to be able to explain any unexplained absences. So maybe there was a circumstance that you know, something happened at home, you weren't able, the child wasn't able to come into school, so as a result they had an absence and you didn't know ahead of time, or it happened unexpectedly, or they forgot the note, or somebody forgot to tell us what was going on. Then the unexplained absence gets recorded here. You can click into that link and it gives you an option then to submit the absence. So please select the unexplained absence from below for the test. Now, if there happens to be more than 1, you'll see more than 1. In this circumstance, there is only 1 unexplained absence for my child called test. So I'm going to click in here. You can see it gives the date of the absence. We'll click in to select. And then we see a drop-down menu for the date in question. Select the absence type. So an explained absence or a work experience. So for example, excuse me, at different points of their academic life with us, students may have work experience, or they may have an opportunity that wasn't scheduled and parents have decided that it's the right choice. But for example, in transition year and certain points of leaving cert, some students go out on work experience. So we'll put it down as an explained absence for this situation. We'll say test, oops, pardon me. That wasn't supposed to happen. We'll go back. It just goes to show these things can happen. Now, reason for the absence. Test was feeling unwell. Allowed to stay home. And we'll submit that reason. Okay, so now that unexplained absence has an explanation attached to it. Okay, now when we have a look, you'll see here it's pending currently. We can click into it and we can see here. Okay, this then gets approved and recognized and approved in the office. Our lovely secretaries and admin staff take care of this for us, and they will have a look then to see what's pending. They approve it or whatever the case may be. Or if there isn't enough information, they may come back to you. This makes things much easier for the admin staff because they do have to track absence very carefully. All absence has to be marked and recorded, and every time a student is out late, you will receive a notification, a push notification, most likely to whatever telephone or email you have, whatever mobile or email you have registered with us. And it happens. I mean, we know absence happens. However, we are very much trying to track what's going on more correctly and more accurately so that everybody knows where everybody is supposed to be. Now, if you notice as well, if we scroll down, if you have a look, then you can also do a month-by-month overview. So we see December there, January and February. If we scroll back, you'll notice up here at the top, there are forward and backward arrows. In September, this student had 100% attendance. They were the same in October, but it was November. We can see there was only 90% attendance. So that's where then you would click into the details to see what was going on. And you can see partial absence, absent days, present days. So it does happen from time to time. Students they leave home on time, but they might be dragging their heels trying to get in, and they end up with a partial absence because they were late arriving. So let's have a look at the details there. So I'll just go back to that again once more. So the present days, that's fine. The absent days, not ideal, but most likely you will know what they're for. But it's the partial absences that can be a challenge, particularly as we are trying to clamp down on lateness in the school to make sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be. So you can scroll down and see where their absences are. So on Monday, November the 8th, we see there's a partial absence. We can scroll across and click on the details, and we can see here at 8:30 that morning, this student had an unexplained absence, and then they rocked into school somewhere shortly after 9:28, and it was an unauthorized late. So they missed that first class and they were late for their second class period. Now, when we, if there's a note attached to that, if there's a particular reason why the student was late, the office may put in, all students have to report to the office when they arrive late to sign in, and the secretary may, or the admin staff who deal with them, may put in a note there if it's relevant. But you can see then the student was present for the rest of the day. So it allows us to track who is late and why they were late. And it allows you to track who was late and why they were late. So, and I encourage all parents to pop in and out of this periodically to check and see that everybody is where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. There we go. You can see there Tuesday they were fully present, Wednesday they were fully present. Now, this is a test student, so obviously the rest of the days are not recorded, but that's just to give you an example of how it appears. So for your child, you won't see not recorded, you'll see partial absence present, or it'll flag it in red if it is an absence. So just to go back then to the attendance overview, you can see here now the unexplained absence has disappeared because we have submitted an explanation and it's waiting to be approved by the office. Now, if we scroll down, there is a very useful button, and this is one that we are very, very strongly encouraging all of our parents to make themselves aware of and to learn how to use it. We would be grateful. It'll make everybody's life an awful lot easier. If you notice here, we have the Submit Absence button. There are occasions, of course, when students have to be out of school. We know this, it happens from time to time. Appointments happen, family occasions happen. For various different reasons, students might not be able to be in school. And a lot of the time we know about it ahead of time. So this is a way for our parents to log that absence so that we're aware of it ahead of schedule. And the reason that this is useful is, first of all, we know where people are supposed to be, but also it means that on the day of absence, you won't be receiving unnecessary messages from the school to find out where your child is. So we have two options here. We have a single day. So let's say, for example, they have an orthodontist appointment. So they're going to be gone for the day. You can click there and we'll select next. It might be a full day. It might be a partial day. So we'll say it's a partial day on this occasion. We'll put down the date of the absence. We'll put it down for tomorrow. So 04/02/2022. And the time of the absence, you'll notice the little clock icon. So it's not behaving itself. There we go now. So we'll say they're going to be absent from 8:30. So I've selected my time there. I'm now going to go across. Time of the absence, they will be in at 10:30. So they'll be in just in time for their break, their morning break. So we'll say 10:30. So they'll miss their first two class periods. And if you notice down, so we've recorded the time, select the absence type, explained absence, the reason for absence, we'll say dentist appointment. So we can submit this, then we can double check that the date is correct. If for some reason you can't, and I know different parts of the world we record dates in different ways, you can always click on the calendar there as well beside it, the little calendar icon, and select the appropriate date. Oh, if it would just behave itself now, there we go. And once we've checked everything and it's all in, it's all correct, we can click submit. So your absence request has been sent to the school and is being processed. So that means then the admin staff in the office will see this pop up and they'll be able to update the students' records accordingly. Now, maybe for some reason you're fortunate enough to be away for a few days holidays, or there's a family event going on, maybe there's a wedding coming up. We can also select a multi-date situation. And you can see here, very similar to the last single day, you select, we'll say they're away from the 22nd of February, and they're going to be away for the Monday and the Tuesday, or the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and they're back on Thursday. So we'll click back on the Thursday, select the absence type, it's an explained absence, and we'll say family wedding. Okay, so that there you can see is how we will put up another multiple day absence. So we'll select submit, and the absence request has been sent to the school and is being processed. So we go back to our attendance, and you'll notice then we have 3 new lines. They're waiting to be approved by the office. Now, so this is the function of VSware that we are very, very strongly encouraging parents to become familiar with and to engage with, particularly submitting absences. It makes everybody's life considerably easier, yours and ours in the school, if the absence is explained ahead of time. It helps everybody to keep track of where everybody is supposed to be on any given point in the day. So those are the key features of VSware that are available to parents. We do encourage all parents to become familiar with it, to become used to using it as much as possible, particularly the attendance and the timetable. The behavior aspect is useful, particularly if for some reason your child has been assigned a detention, but it's also a great way to check and see the positive comments that are coming in about your child's performance. But then in terms of academic achievement and in terms of the report cards, we see the assessment section is where you'll find that information. Again, if you have more than one child, you just click on the Your Children aspect at the top, and over on the right hand side then you'll see you just have the option